were you treated when you first got there? Because I know I've been in it for over 30 years now. And
Wow.
there's a lot of people who feel like, if you didn't pay your dues, they would treat talent a certain way. Did you have any problems when you first got there? Did anybody treat you not so nice or in a way that you were just like, oh, I'm really uncomfortable?
Not necessarily. I had to navigate some conversations a little bit, but I was able to navigate that in my own way and kind of prove myself. I think that was mostly what the conversation was about. Was like, well, this girl's coming in right out of college. I'm like a fresh face. I'm what, 21, 22? Like I didn't know anything. And so that was kind of the interesting part for me, was just proving that I can entertain. I can be in this business. I can learn on the fly. Like I can do all of those things and do it gracefully and have a good job and make a good job. And once I developed that relationship with talent and the camaraderie behind the business, and I really got to gain everyone's trust. I think that was what it was about.
Mm-hmm. Um, Answer this the way you want to answer it. No pressure. I'm sure you're familiar with the stories that are going around with Vince McMahon and upper management. Were you, or did you know, and you can tell as much or as little as you want, did you ever experience any weirdness, any pressure in order to either keep your job or because I've had experiences there. I only lasted there 6 months. I
Oh,
worked there.
wow.
I worked there in 2006, and I was told to get noticed. I had to rub my chest with oil and go into Vince McMahon's room and
Oh,
literally
goodness.
lean over his desk and try to talk to him to get him to notice me and that kind of thing. And at this point, I was already in the business for 13 years. I worked for ECW. I was on TV. I did countless pay-per-views. I was already established as a worker. So I didn't feel like that was something that needed to be done. So I flat out said
Right.
no, and I was released.
Wow.
So did you experience anything towards yourself, or did you see anything backstage that you were just like, maybe this is not the
Sure.
place for me? Or
Yeah. Lucky enough, I did not. I had a really pleasant experience at my time with WWE. I did not experience any type of situation that way. I think too, it's such a different time. I think it's a different era of it being in 2024. And the women are headlining WrestleMania and pay-per-views and Royal Rumbles and you name it. And so I feel like it's a different time, it's a different era. And so I was lucky enough to not ever experience that or to see anything of that matter.
okay. Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there because there's so many stories that are
Unfortunate.
continuing. Yeah. And they're continuing to come out every day. There's like somebody stepping up and saying this happened and that happened. And,
Hmm.
it just, this is my business. And it just makes me so upset to hear all these things and to have these young women be put in these positions
100%.
to keep their jobs or to get a job. And I'm just like, man, it is not worth it, and
No,
there's life after WWE. There was life before WWE. And that's what I try to explain to people. Like, I just walked out and
yeah,
it just wasn't for me. And I mean,
totally.
if that's something what people want to do, and you could look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I'm good with that, then by all means, like that's great. But I wasn't one
Sure.
of those people. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you did not have to go through that and that you had a really good experience there. Um, do you want to continue in wrestling? Like, are you looking to still fulfill that role for another company, or are you planning to move on and maybe
Yeah.
pursue other things?
I've toyed with that idea a little bit because I've been in wrestling now it's been 8 years,
Mhm.
almost 9 years. And so it's taken a lot of my life. All of my 20s was in the wrestling business. My husband and I were both in wrestling. That's how we met each other. He still works with NXT with WWE, so that's really unique in itself. Um, this is the first time I've not had a contract in 8 years.
Oh,
And so that's a really, it's a freeing experience because I can have the ability to do whatever I want to do. And so I'm really just enjoying my time now. And I just launched my show Threads, which we talked about a little bit off record when we were texting.
right.
I just launched my own YouTube show, and that was a show that I had pitched to WWE for 4 years, the entirety that I was there. And they never picked it up. They didn't
No
greenlight it.
interest?
We filmed a pilot. And the pilot we filmed in February of last year. And then I circled back in August, and there was just, it never got greenlit, and we never saw the light of day of it. And so the pilot was with Johnny Gargano, and he had some fantastic stories. The gear, like it just puts a different a spin on the conversation. There's only so many times you can ask, like, what's your favorite Royal Rumble moment? What's your favorite WrestleMania moment? I could probably Google that and find that on the internet. But this is a way to bring fresh, new conversations and talk about things that I know about the business, which is style and fashion, and things that I care about. I've never been in the ring, so I don't know how it feels to take a suplex or to take a bump. Like, I don't know that, but I do know
that.
right. I'm like, but I do not. I always say I'm a better talker than I think I would be athlete and wrestler, which is why I had my job. But I always say, like, this is something I know about and I care about. And when there's new gear, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to know all about it. And
So
people have.
excuse me 1 second. You make gear as well? You're a
I
designer?
don't make gear. I design my own jewelry pieces. I have my own jewelry brand, headlined by headlined by MM. My family's been in fine jewelry for 75 years.
Oh,
So I've learned a thing or two throughout the years. My great-grandmother and great-grandfather started a small local business back in the 1950s. My grandmother and my aunt still run the store today. It still survives, which is really, really awesome. And so I knew I wanted to create a business around the jewelry business. I just didn't know a jewelry industry. I just didn't know what it was going to be. When I was on TV on a weekly basis, I was like, why don't I just design these pieces? Make that my fun, my creative outlet. And so I design a lot of my pieces, and that's kind of where my expertise comes into the fashion side of things as well.